It's a very good. I mean, the ways I'm going these days are to use the biochar as soil correction during first years, and then the replacement. I mean, the typical farmer is using massive compost amendments every year. They spend, typically in the world, you need to consider $100 US per dry ton of compost. That is a like benchmark, and they apply sometimes 10 tons a year on the nectar. Can spend easily $1,000 in compost. And what we did in many projects is to blend biochar with the compost to reduce the compost and slowly building up the soil fertility with the biochar. And then once the biochar in the soil is a lot, because after some years you have a lot of biochar there, and the organic matter starts to evolve, you reduce the compost and you go into liquids only.
Yeah. And particularly from my country in Australia, a lot of the country is very dry, quite arid, most of the country. And so water is a commodity. It's valuable, it's time, it's effort, it's spent on irrigation and all of that. If you need to irrigate less, you might irrigate 30% less once you've got the biochar down, so you don't have to spend as much time irrigating, paying for all the sprinklers and all of that. So that saves the farmer some time and money when he could be doing other things. His crops are coming out of the ground before his neighbours. We did a good one up in the Northern Territory in the north part of Australia. We did with university, the James Cook University came on board and assisted. So there's, and this is poor soil, less than 1% carbon in the soil. It's like I think it was 0.2% carbon in the soil. Very poor soil. Growing melons, cucumbers, that sort of thing. And so the university students did random plot trials, and they didn't tell the farmer where the biochar was, but they just had markers with codes, and so the students knew how much biochar was there, where the biochar was.
Well, that's another market for you, I guess, education.
Yeah, education, for sure.
Demonstrative units everywhere.
They put a drone up 1 month after they put the biochar on the ground and showed the farmer a photo, and he said, there, that's better. And he said, yep, biochar. Because they left some controls, they left areas with nothing, and some with 5%, some with 20% in random plots. And the farmer could tell just by looking at the leaves from the air what plants were doing well. And then they came back when it was time to harvest, 30% higher yield where the biochar was, and he got to market earlier, so he saw, so he put it everywhere. So when that was done.
No. Once they see the effect, it's, but I really believe that the equipment you developed is quite good thing.
They know biochar, but it has to be very cheap. But some of them are starting to take it up. We've sold some in Africa now, and got some in Nigeria and Kenya and a few places. But yeah, and India, there's also a lot of interest in India. I'm actually expecting a call from an Indian guy today who's keen to move ahead, and he wants to start the ball rolling. Because, as I say, with biochar, it's sort of often only one sale and then you don't see them again because they put it on their garden bed and now everything's good and they don't need you anymore. Some of my repeat customers are feeding it to cattle and horses.
In Australia, they were the pioneers in this, like dog, how's that?
Dog power,
He's a good one.
He's a good guy, and very, he's forward thinking, working smart, not hard. He lets the worms and the dung beetles do all the work.
biochar. How is the status with the carbon certification? I mean, if I buy one of the units in Spain, is there a way that I can get some carbon certification bonds or whatever?
Certainly some customers, and as I say, nearly every day I get this question from customers, and yeah, the answer is yes, you can, but it will be something that you'll have to get the certification done in your area.
Because you cannot offer a certificate with linked to the equipment itself.
No.
It will change with the certification.
Because if you are burning tyres in it, it might have terrible emissions. You can burn tyres in those, but the emissions will be different. So what they're assessing the feedstock that goes in and the biochar that comes out, and it has to be sequestered, not reburned. And there are two, I know Puro and Vera are doing biochar credits, but I think there are two systems, there's high-tech and low-tech for the technologies. And our technology has a foot in both. So low-tech has no afterburner or thermal oxidizer. Okay. So that would be like a flame kiln, open flame pit would be low-tech. There's very low-tech, there's no chimney, there's nothing. And you can generate credits, but it'll be lower value. But if you go to the high-tech, then it has to have a thermal oxidizer, which ours does, the flare, where we burn the excess syngas is being burned off, and that's for a time when there's excess. So if you're making excessive, and that also depends on the feedstock. Some of the grasses don't have a lot of calorific value,
right,
but some timbers have a lot of, especially in Australia, our eucalypts are full of fuel. So if I do a run on red gum or blue gum eucalypt, then I'll have to flare for a couple of hours. Yeah, you can stand by it and keep going, but there's not much use for it in Queensland where I'm from. But as I say, some of my customers are piping that elsewhere and heating up a body of water, so they've got warm water to do some other process. Make them die or whatever. They can use that heat to heat up a nursery and use the CO2 in the nursery from the exhaust. So there's CO2 and heat coming, and in a cold place, in a glass house, greenhouse, that can be a commodity. So it really depends on where you are. But yeah, so our machines are basically both low-tech and high-tech. So on the high-tech side, you can generate valuable carbon credits, the highest carbon credits. But to ensure that you pass, it's a modification just to a fault. And yeah, you're within the emission standards for Puro Earth, which are the highest standards. So yeah, that's what. But you would have to do it for your project, wherever that project is. And then if you've got another project in Paraguay, you have to get them to come and research it there, study that biomass, weigh the charcoal coming out, test the emissions coming off it, and then go, yes, you can get these credits for that. And they have to be monitored.
You mean that everything, I see the challenge now.
Yeah, so
because of the location can give a range of results, considering the biochar in the soil, considering the feedstock kind.
Correct, absolutely.